are extremely popular for hot rodding. I have one in the Chev as well. So they're in an independent front end. They're very easy to mount up to a hot rod chassis. It's just a matter of welding a bit of 90-degree angle on there, and that's it. You push it up against the chassis, drill the holes, bolt it in, and you're done. It's a job that can be done in a day. It's so easy. You don't have to worry about cutting the chassis and putting in an entire front clip. This is basically just a front cross member with the wishbones on it that unbolts. There's four bolts I think that hold it onto the original chassis of the original car it came out of. Yeah, easy to remove. These in their day had a steering box as part of the front end, but we used a rack and pinion when we set them up in hot rods, and that's what we've used here. This is also a GM item. It's out of a 1985 Holden Commodore, which is basically the fleet car of Holden here in Australia. It's a family car. This is a power steering unit, which is great. Had to have the rack end shortened and have some extra thread tapped onto those, just to suit the width of the front clip, or front cross member, whatever you want to call it, and that all bolts up great. It's got slightly later calipers and discs on it, off another GM, but these are slightly larger. They're PBR calipers, a lot better than the earlier design. Give me really good stopping power. Okay, even though it's a GM stud pattern, I've bought some adapters. They're not actually classed as spacers, because here in Australia wheel spacers don't pass the regulations, but these are actually stud adapters, so you can go from a GM stud pattern to a Ford stud pattern. And I had these original snowflake rims off the 79 Fairmont wagon, and I like them. They're not everyone's cup of tea, but they will do for now, and I do intend running a Ford rim anyway on these later on, and I may even end up keeping these. I might have these repainted with a decent set of tyres on it. They will look great. You know, the rear end was no problem because it was a Ford Borg-Warner diff. The rims went straight on, but with these I had to buy the adapters and was able to run a matching set of rims, which is great. Okay, my plans for the bonnet. I hate these multi-folding bonnets. The Chev gives me the shits, to be honest. So what I want to do with the Studebaker is what most rodders do these days. It's usually a one-piece top, will be welded up through the middle. What will happen is it'll be hinged on a rail here, so the bonnet will actually flip up, and it'll have a locking mechanism on the other side. I have the sides for it, and they will just be attached somehow, either by Zeus clips or some other type of retainers. We won't use the old pull-up latching hooks. Don't need. They look ugly. I don't like them. But I think a majority of the time I'll be running this without the hood sides on it anyway. As you can see, I've got the transmission cooler mounted down here on the chassis rail. That's a very similar setup to what I've got on the Chev. It catches all the air coming in from underneath the front guard and smacks the face of the transmission cooler there. So it's not being hindered by anything else being in front of it. It's there by itself. It's got perfect airflow. It keeps the transmission nice and cool. Okay, where do we move next? The inside. I've got a bit of stuff sitting here. Even if I move it, there's not an extreme lot to see. There's no floor or anything in there yet. But I've got a 1994 Ford Falcon steering column to go in here, which is just here underneath this, and that's the steering column surround for it. All fits in beautifully, butts up nice. It sits well, works good. And what I've got there is a 1999 Ford Festiva center console, also sold in some countries as a Kia. Don't know what it would have been, but doesn't matter really. It sits really nice up against the dash. It comes off it really squarely. It looks good. I've had the column in and I've had the bucket seats in out of this 99 Ford Festiva, and it looks good. You know, it's not tacky. I thought it would be. I've seen people build their own consoles and put consoles in out of other, you know, factory produced cars, and they look absolutely shit. So, you know, I wanted to pick something that was going to suit the car, and to be quite honest, this looks really good. You know, it's got all the heater and air conditioning controls already built into it. It's got the provision for the radio. There's a ashtray that goes in here with a cigarette lighter, so I have a port for my mobile phone charger and GPS and stuff like that. And I've used, you can see that there's a nice big round bar that runs from one side of the cabin to the other, and that was the original strengthening bar inside the Ford Festiva under the dash. So I've retained that, and that's given me, as you can see, a perfect mounting frame for the console. So the console bolts up to the original framework from the Festiva, and it also gives me a mount for the steering column, and also strengthens the entire cowl section. And when the air conditioning unit out of the Ford Festiva finally goes in, it will have all the mounting points off the frame, that round tubular frame that came out of the Festiva, so it will just all bolt up as if it was factory. It's great. I've kept it simple. What else can I tell you? The roof, I'll be putting a roof graft in. You can see it there, that came out of the 79 Fairmont wagon. Has a nice roll on it too, so it should go in there quite nicely. Had to trim a little bit more out than the original hole size, because it did have a fabric inlay, and the framework the fabric was fastened to was wood, and the wood was nailed through the sheet metal, so there was hundreds of nail holes around the opening of this. So I just trimmed it back a little bit more, opened it up. It's nice and clean now, clean edges, so that'll get grafted in. And yeah, it'll be a nice solid roof. The idea for the windows, the back window is going to be electric, so it will go up and down, which is a bit of a novelty. Side windows, of course, will be electric. The front screen originally had a frame in it, which you could push out. I'm doing away with that. I'm going to have a fixed screen. You can see here there's a bit of a lip. I'm just going to follow that lip on with some sheet metal down side here along the top, and I'll put a fixed screen in with a rubberized molding, one-piece windscreen. It's just going to be too much work to try and get the old original tilt screen back in there. A lot of mucking around. Want to keep it simple, want this to be a daily driver. Just don't have the patience to source all the little bits and pieces that I would need to set up that that tilt side of it. I've got the screen, but I'm missing everything else. So the screen can just remain an ornament for the garage, get it hung up on the wall eventually one day, and keep it. What else can I tell you about the truck? Well, you know, we've boxed all the front of the chassis. It's going to be extremely hard to see any of this because all the bonnet and guards is on at the moment, but I will do some more videos later on. But yeah, all the chassis is boxed from this point right back to here. All the engine mounts we've made, all the mounts for the radiator have been made. It's running an aluminium 4-core radiator. I've got an electric thermo fan to go on there, so we can do away with the original bladed fan. I'm looking at buying a set of block huggers for this. The original exhaust manifolds fit really well there, but the problem is the way they exit. It's going to hit when you put the pipe in and try and bolt the flange up. It's not going to go. You can see there I've marked on the chassis what I would need to actually cut out of it to be able to run the original manifolds. So rather than screw around cutting out the original chassis, I'll buy a set of block huggers for $250, and they'll look the duck's guts. But you haven't heard that phrase in a long time, and some of you have probably never heard it. You know, lots of little bits and pieces to do. There's lots of holes in there, original holes, but some of them I can use for the mounting of the air conditioning unit. You know, passing pipes in and out for the unit. So until I know exactly what I need and what I don't, they'll just remain circled, and later on I can just weld them up, you know. This is probably the worst bit of all, on the cabin. You know, there's split here, but you know, it's all there. It's all there. So just a matter of lining everything up and welding the frame onto the cowl, making the whole cowl and frame one piece, not two pieces as it originally was. You know, a bolt would run through the wooden framework just here, and there's another one down the bottom here, and that would run into the solid steel frame of the cowl and basically just bolt the two together. So we're just going to weld those together and make that a one-piece cowl and cabin. What else can I tell you about the truck? Let's have a look. This is going to be interesting. I've never actually done or fabricated a door jamb on anything. It's probably the part I'm dreading the most. You know, trying to get the door to open and close and make sure that, you know, a seal can be put around the door perimeter so I don't get water leaking into the truck. So, you know, I'm probably going to be sourcing out a little bit of help in regards to that from other hot rodders that have steeled out a wooden framed cabin before. See what they suggest. See what the best way to go around it is. Just don't know. But yeah, I'll take it in baby steps and just do a little bit at a time, not rush it. Okay, what else can I show you? Down the bottom here, we've got the original, not the original, but the 1999 Ford Festiva air conditioning condenser, and that fits in there absolutely beautiful width-wise. I was a little bit concerned that it wouldn't go width-wise, and with these things you can't tip them up on their end. If they're designed to run horizontally, you've got to run them horizontally. But that managed to go in, and the radiator sits perfectly on top of it. Although it is not resting on it, it's mounted by individual brackets. Just the whole way everything went in, you know, I had enough room from bottom to top to get both those units in, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So I'm very happy about that. What else? The air conditioning compressor. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I've tried to put the 99 Ford Festiva one in there, but it is a ribbed belt. It's not a V-belt like the rest of the pulleys on the Cleveland. But it gives me an idea. I've just got a belt sort of tossed over the top of the pulley system, just to see if my alignments for bracketry was right, and it seems to be lined up pretty good. But I may have to just pick up another compressor with a V-belt pulley on it. I don't really want to spend too much money on this thing. Trying to source a V-belt pulley for it, it's just probably not worth it. You can pick up compressors. I've seen them as cheap as $125 new.